Alright guys, welcome back to another video. So a couple weeks ago we installed the Nameless Performance bypass valve to the GrimmSpeed Turbo Inlet, and today we're gonna get some sound clips as I promised. I didn't do it all in the last video because I needed to kind of take some time to get to know the car again so I can note some major differences that I noticed with the bypass valve. So without further ado, let's get out of here. So I'm gonna throw you guys on the GoPro for a little bit of it. I'm gonna get some drive-bys. The wife is actually coming with me so she can help me film. As you guys can see right here, I got the Method wheels back on with the Pilot Sports. I couldn't really drive in the winter tires just because it wasn't ideal for warmer conditions. So that said, we're ready to get out of here. Car's super dirty, but I needed to wash just the front so I can mount the GoPro somewhere over here to get the sound clips. All right, we're just driving around the neighborhood. The whoosh sounds are definitely louder. Doing a bit of normal driving, but the whoosh kind of catches you off guard on how loud it is. Alright, so I won't push it all the way, but I'll try to push it a little bit here. Do a quick third gear pull from around 3,000, 3,500. So another thing I noticed with the bypass valve is that the whooshes are longer than before, meaning they last longer. So I'm in fifth and I'm gonna tap it real quick. And it stays in that whooshing phase for at least 3 seconds after. But yeah, that wasn't there before with the stock bypass valve. So we'll do a couple freeway pulls and then we'll do some outside shots as well. But I'm just trying to get some shots so you guys can experience literally what I hear, whether that's driving normally, aggressively, or whatever that may be. Almost back to business. Second gear, let off. Notice if you let off, if you hit the gas and you let off fast, like switching gears quickly, it almost purges or flutters, but not quite. loud in here. It sounds like a vacuum cleaner if it sucked up something, like the hose. But all right, we're almost to our destination. I'm gonna shut up and get some more sound clips so you guys can hear.
That's in first, and then you're gonna give it gas. Do not let go of the clutch, okay? Promise. Okay, go. Again. Wow. I've never been back here when it did that. Do it again. Okay, hold on. Put it in neutral. Let go of the clutch. Woo! Good job.
Alright guys, so we just got back home. Big shout out to the wife for helping me film out there. It would have taken me double the time if I just try to do it all by myself. I'm gonna try to summarize everything that I've noticed so far ever since running the Nameless performance bypass valve with the GrimmSpeed Turbo Inlet. And I actually got my phone right here because I took notes and I don't want to feed you guys with any BS, so this is literally everything that I've noticed. Keep in mind, the things I've noticed are only for my car. My car is tuned for 21 PSI. It's pushing around 303 wheel horsepower with 327 foot-pounds of torque. So just keep that in mind if you, let's say, get the GrimmSpeed Turbo Inlet and a bypass valve and it doesn't sound the same as mine, just because every car is going to sound different depending on your modifications. I'm still on the stock headers, but I do have a catted GrimmSpeed J pipe as well as a resonated catback from Perrin, charge pipe, cob intake, and I think that's about it that I could think of, at least, that may contribute to the sound. So with that said, I'm gonna go over exactly what I took note of ever since I installed this thing, and it's been a couple weeks. So the first thing I noticed was there's a longer whoosh sound. So with the stock bypass valve, it was just a quick whoosh, but with the Nameless bypass valve, if you hit the gas just a little bit, the whoosh lasts longer, so you can hear it for 2 to 3 seconds longer than the stock one, which I think is all right. I mean, it doesn't really change what I think about it. I mean, it's just louder, longer whooshes, and yeah, it's pretty cool, I guess. And one good thing that I noticed is that it no longer does this high-pitched whistle. So back then I could hear in my garage, if you tap the throttle lightly, it'll give you a quick whistle that'll last about 2 to 3 seconds after you give it the gas. Now I noticed that that's gone, and that was one of my main annoyances with my last setup. Thought it was a leak somewhere, so I tightened everything down, but the sound still remained. And so I'll try to do some comparisons with the turbo inlet itself with the stock bypass valve compared to my setup now. I noticed that the rattlesnake sounds, that's the best way I could describe them, are no longer there as well. With the stock bypass valve, it was literally when you're giving it some gas, maybe half to almost full throttle, you can hear it rattling like a rattlesnake sound, and it sounded like air being blown out really quickly. But since installing this piece, that sound is now smooth. Imagine your tire is leaking and the hole is literally right in front of you, and then you plug it, unplug it, plug it, and unplug it. That pss, 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 pss sound is now just a constant pss. That's what it sounds like now, which I think is actually better. These cars are so sensitive. If you find consistency in anything, that's always a good thing. And I know a lot of people want the flutter sound, the compression surges. This one kind of does it, but it's not noticeable at all. And I think that's actually a good thing. I've been reading around online, and flutters, I guess, are not good. So the fact that this doesn't do it, I think that's a great thing. So aside from the louder sounds, as you guys just heard, I took some shots of the access port, but I feel like the numbers have actually improved, and I'm referring to the air-fuel ratios. I think that with the upgraded bypass valve, the numbers are more consistent, meaning the air-fuel ratios don't fluctuate as much. And I don't need to explain why that's a good thing. Just know that the less fluctuation that you have with the air-fuel, the better. Again, consistency is the key with this car. And one major thing that I noticed is that the boost stayed within the limits. So with the GrimmSpeed Turbo Inlet, when I installed that, I mentioned that the boost did improve. It didn't exceed the 22 PSI mark. Again, I'm tuned for 21 PSI with plus or minus 1.5 PSI. With this setup, I noticed that the boost didn't exceed 22 PSI. It might have been just under 22 from what I remember, but I'll review the footage and I'll put it up here when I get the chance. So overall, my thoughts on the Nameless performance bypass valve. So keep in mind, no, I didn't buy this bypass valve for the noise. I bought it to avoid any potential leaks with the system. So again, like I mentioned several times, the stock bypass valve is the only plastic piece left in that turbo area of the car, so why not replace it? And I did. The louder noises are just a bonus, but I'm not complaining. I actually kind of like it. But again, if your car is running fine, then there's really no reason for you to replace the OEM bypass valve. But hey, if you want increased noises, just make sure you get a decent bypass valve and make sure it doesn't leak, obviously. So in the future, I think I'm gonna try to get a retune to see if I can squeeze out a little more power out of this car with installing the new inlet and obviously the bypass valve. I'm just curious how many many more horses I can get under the hood just based on those parts and some minor adjustments. So my honest opinion on this piece is if you're looking for more noise, then sure, go for it. Again, I mainly bought it to avoid any potential leaks in the system. I would have been fine with the stock one. It performed just fine. And yeah, I'm not trying to talk down on any companies here, specifically Nameless Performance, but this is just my honest opinion. Could have done just fine without it. And if it holds together and the system doesn't leak, then hey, I got my money's worth. So just take everything I said with a grain of salt, just my honest opinion. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and close out this video. I'm extremely tired. We've been out just filming as much as we can, and it was a little cold outside. So if you guys have any questions on my setup or anything about the car, just let me know in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. It helps me out a whole bunch. Other than that, I'm gonna close this one out here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, I will see you guys in the next one.